Today, the entertainment world was left reeling as Mei Mei's father stepped into the spotlight for a public revelation that few could have anticipated. Known for maintaining a discreet presence in his daughter's life, he rarely spoke to the media, and when he did, it was with careful neutrality. But today was different. Today, he brought the hidden truth about his son-in-law, Long, to light. A story that had been buried under speculation, whispers, and relentless rumors for months. From the moment he walked into the press room, carrying a quiet determination instead of his usual reserve, it was clear that something significant was about to unfold. With no representatives from Long or Mei Mei present, he stood alone at the podium, adjusting the microphone with the kind of deliberate control often seen in people who have wrestled with their thoughts for far too long. The reporters watched him carefully, sensing tension beneath the surface. Then, he began speaking, calmly, clearly, without hesitation. He said something that sent a visible ripple through the room, not because of theatrics, but because of the sheer weight of the statement itself. Long, he said, is exactly as people say, a man who is irresponsible, careless, unfaithful, and involved with other women. Everything you've heard about him being a terrible husband is true. But then, after a brief pause and a steadying breath, he continued. Everything I just said, he added, is only true in the films he acts in. A hush followed. The shift in meaning landed, slowly, quietly, but decisively. There were no dramatic reactions, no gasps, just an undeniable change in the air as the reporters processed the reveal. The father went on, explaining calmly that the public had blurred the line between the roles Long played on screen and the man he truly was. People see him as irresponsible or unfaithful because that is what he plays in dramas. But that version of him exists only in fiction, nowhere else. Years of morally ambiguous characters shaped misconceptions, and tabloids eagerly reported every unverified story, while jealousy and resentment from some rivals and detractors only fueled the speculation, pushing the narrative further from reality. He revealed that behind the cameras, the real Long was nothing like his on-screen personas. The father described the young man he had quietly observed over the past months, the way he supported Mei Mei during stressful periods, the small kindnesses he offered when no one was watching, and the steady responsibility he carried despite intense work pressure. He said, "I've watched how he treats my daughter, and no character he plays reflects the man he is at home." He spoke of nights when Mei Mei's anxiety overwhelmed her, and Long stayed by her side until she calmed down. He recalled how Long approached her medical appointments with quiet attention, listening, asking questions, worrying silently. Even after long, draining filming days, he still found the strength to help around the house or check on Mei Mei's well-being. There was no dramatization in the father's voice, only clear, steady truth. He said the recent wave of rumors and accusations had deeply affected the couple. Mei Mei feared the damage these stories could cause. Long, meanwhile, grew emotionally exhausted, afraid that no matter what he did, people would always confuse him with the characters he played. The father then shared a late-night conversation with Long. The young man arrived at our home looking drained, sitting quietly on the edge of the couch, hands clasped. He wasn't acting, the father said. He was simply a young man afraid of failing someone he loves. According to him, Long said softly, "I don't care how they see me. I don't want her to suffer because of me." That was the moment, the father explained, when he truly understood Long's sincerity. He paused briefly, letting the last words settle, before he continued, not as a man defending a public figure, but as a father speaking from the deepest place of honesty. Then his voice changed. It softened, warmed, and carried something unmistakable: pride. He said, "I want to say this clearly." He looked directly at the cameras. "Yu Long is not just a good husband. He is a man any parent would be grateful to have in their family." The father continued, now recounting moments he had never shared publicly before, moments that, in his eyes, revealed the true measure of Yu Long's character. "He has sacrificed more than people know," he said. "During the toughest weeks, when Mei Mei's health was fragile and our family was terrified, he did not sleep. He refused to leave her side. Even when his own schedule was collapsing, even when producers were pressuring him, even when the media was tearing him apart, he stayed. Every day, every night." He took a slow breath, grounding himself before going on. "There were nights when Mei Mei could barely stand from exhaustion, and Yu Long, after filming for nearly 20 hours straight, still carried her to the car, brought her home, made sure she ate, watched her until she fell asleep. Not because anyone asked him to, not because the world was watching, but because he loved her." The reporters listened in silence, their pens hovering, but still. "And it wasn't just for her," he added. "He supported both families too. When my wife was overwhelmed and scared, Yu Long came to comfort her. When my son was angry and confused about the rumors, Yu Long apologized to him, even though he had done nothing wrong. When our relatives questioned the marriage, he faced them with respect instead of anger." He shook his head lightly, as though revisiting memories that surprised him, even him. Most young men in his position, famous, busy, targeted by the media, would have collapsed under the pressure. But he didn't. He took responsibility for everything, even things that weren't his fault. He protected Mei Mei, protected us, and never once asked for recognition. His eyes glistened, not from sadness, but from the weight of gratitude that words struggled to express. "I used to think my daughter was too gentle for this world," he said quietly. "But then I watched how Yu Long stood between her and every storm, how he never let her face pain alone, how he treated her as someone precious, not fragile." A few reporters lowered their cameras, not out of shock, but out of respect. "People think they know him," he continued. "They think he's the careless man he plays on screen. But I have seen him at his most human, at his most vulnerable. And I have seen how fiercely he loves my daughter." He straightened slightly, as though making a declaration not to the room, but to the world. He said, "Yu Long is family, not because he married my daughter, but because he has shown again and again that he would protect her and all of us, even at the cost of himself."